2 luxury VIP tickets to the Arsenal v Chelsea game worth over £1,500. It's just £10 entry and we've got a limited 250 tickets. Tickets for a chance to attend your dream matchday experience go on sale on February the 24th, so click the link below. Stay tuned for the drop because once they're gone, they're gone. Don't forget. Hi and welcome along to AFTV. We are here live at 7 o'clock tonight as we go live 7 every single night, apart from on a match day. And we are joined here today by Laurie. How you doing? You good?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. Not too bad. Just trying to recover. It's been a somewhat chastening weekend.
It's been a horrible weekend. Just been watching the game, of course, Manchester City versus Liverpool, and Liverpool winning it by 2-0. Very, very comfortable winners. And now that means that they are 11 points clear at the top of the table. Let's take a look at that table. Let me see if I can get the table up to show everybody. I've got it here somewhere. Here it is. Liverpool, 11 points clear and on course to win the Premier League title. It would take an absolute miracle now for them to drop points. Arsenal in second place. Forest, who also lost today, they got beaten 4-3 at Newcastle. Manchester City in fourth. Newcastle and Bournemouth battling it out as well for that sort of top 5 spot. Bournemouth also losing this weekend. Chelsea losing this weekend. A real strange weekend, but massive weekend for Liverpool, and we've blown it, haven't we, Laurie? They are going to go and win the title now, aren't they?
Yeah, you know what? It pains me to say it, but you're absolutely right. And listen, you will know even more so than me because you was at the game, I was at the studio. But I must admit, it was such an anticlimactic day for me. I woke up on Saturday morning full of hope. I thought, right, Arsenal get the 3 points against West Ham, try and put some pressure on Liverpool. We had, of course, a big boxing event going on. I was full of optimism. By the end of Saturday, the end of Saturday afternoon anyway, it had a kind of air of finality about it. There was something quite, I don't know how to describe it. You looked at the stadium, for example, 10 minutes before the game finished. A lot of the fans had left the stadium. It just felt like the whole energy had been sucked out of North London, man. You know what I mean? Mm. And even before today's game, I was looking at that situation. I was thinking, you know what? It's looking unlikely. And I think I said to somebody at the studio, it's almost like today was the day that the dream died, if you know what I mean. It's not mathematically finished yet, but it just felt like that.
Yeah, listen, Liverpool, they've been the best team this season. Without a doubt, when you watch them play today, they're complete. They've got the best defense this season, which is very important. They're very experienced. Van Dijk in there and Konate has been excellent. And then, up front, Mo Salah. Again, today, another goal and assist. Literally every game this guy plays in, it's a goal and an assist. Another goal and assist for him today. He's been the best player in the league. He's been fit. He's not been injured once. And he's been absolutely on fire. And, their midfield's been good. Listen, all round Liverpool, if they go on to win the title, which looks like they're going to do, are definitely going to deserve to win the title. But it's really annoying and really upsetting when you see a performance like Arsenal's yesterday. We put no pressure on Liverpool today. That game today for them, and by the way, they won it very, very easily. But that game today, for me, it looked like a game that they were playing under no pressure. Right?
Well,
we needed, if we would have won the game yesterday, at least, it's not to say that Liverpool wouldn't have won that game today, but Liverpool got a very poor record at the Etihad. And even though it all went for him again today, no Haaland, not even on the bench, but they were under no pressure today when they're playing that game. They knew it's almost like a free hit. If we lose the game, we're still 8 points clear.
Yep.
Right? Whereas if we would have won our game and they lost that game, it'd be 5 points. Pressure all of a sudden on Liverpool from being in the driving seat. But Arsenal yesterday against West Ham, we were dreadful. First home defeat of the season. And you have to say, we bottled it. We bottled it yesterday, Laurie. It's as simple as that. Pressure game for us, but a winnable game, a chance to put pressure on, and those players, they really let themselves and the fans down.
Yeah, listen, you're 100% right. And what was so disappointing about that as well is that going into that game, as Arsenal fans, we had a lot of reasons to feel optimistic. I mean, we had the win against Leicester last week. Okay, the performance wasn't great, but, you know, we kind of ended up on a bit of a high. Mourinho getting those 2 goals. We won the game. Then we had a little bit of a little psychological boost, if you like, with the Champions League draw. I think we got what most people would regard as a favourable draw. You're looking forward to the game against West Ham. Now, our record against West Ham in recent years at home has not been brilliant, but West Ham at the moment, anyway, up until yesterday anyway, they'd not been in the best of form. We'd also beaten them pretty comfortably at their place earlier in the season. So we had every reason as Arsenal fans to feel optimistic. But unfortunately, Arsenal laid a big, fat, stinking turd. I've got to say it like that. And I do have to say, though, you've got to give respect to Graham Potter and West Ham, because I think Graham Potter got his tactics absolutely right. It wasn't rocket science what he did. The 2 banks of 4, you know, set up low block. But he did get the better of Arteta. Not for the first time, I might add. I think he's beaten him now in 3 out of 4 meetings or something like that. So whilst you have to give West Ham credit, they got their tactics right. But also you have to say, as an Arsenal fan, if you're aspiring to win the title, a West Ham team that going into yesterday's game was 16th in the table and struggling, no wins, I think 1 win in 6 games since Graham Potter took over. If you can't beat West Ham, then really and truly, you don't really deserve to be in the title shake-up. That's what I would say.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, the worrying thing was they came, they deployed a low block, and Arsenal couldn't break it down. And Arsenal had no options on the bench, right? Really, I mean, all right, they had Sterling who they bought, and we really know that Sterling's been on poor form. To be honest, he didn't really have much time to do anything yesterday anyway, right? But no options. No. Something that's been in the making since the January transfer window when we didn't buy any players. And it came home to roost yesterday, because you are going to get these tight games where, you know, it's very difficult to break down a team. And West Ham are really well organised, and we struggled. You know what, Laurie? I heard Gary Neville say something today on TV when I was watching that game, when he's doing the commentary. And it really got me thinking. Because, you know, Manchester City as well been very poor this season. And basically, Liverpool today, they only had about 36% of the possession. It's all possession for Manchester City, just like yesterday was all possession for us. And most of our games this season, lots and lots of possession. But Gary Neville said, are we seeing the end of this sort of possession style? You know what I mean? Where Manchester City in particular over the years, they've had all the possession, dominate, and then they eventually wear a team down and win the game. But we're seeing teams now set up so well defensively, make it so difficult to break down, that teams like Manchester City and us, because we've drawn a lot of games this season, are struggling. And you're seeing teams that are just saying, all right, we're going to sit back a bit and we'll catch you on the counter-attack, right? Because you got all the ball, you got everybody in our half. When you lose that ball, you may only have 2 players back. We'll pour players forward and outnumber you, like what, you know, West Ham did yesterday, like what Liverpool did today, like what we've seen Nottingham Forest doing all season, and teams are getting a lot of success from it. So is this possession-based style of football dead?
Well, I wouldn't say it's dead, but I think Gary Neville and yourself raise a very interesting argument when you say that. I mean, there is that saying, possession is 9/10 of the law, but I would also argue that it's what you do with that possession that counts. I mean, you would have thought that if you get the majority of the possession of the ball, then you should be able to create more chances. And often teams do create a lot of chances, but if the team's defending well, they can limit those chances to where, you know what I mean, you're not clean through on goal, or you're not creating what I call clear chances.
Mm.
And of course, we've also at the moment, I think I heard a stat today where we're something like 7th in the in terms of taking our chances in the league. So we're not, even when we are creating those chances, we're not taking them. As everybody knows by now, we're very short of forwards and strikers. So, you know what I mean? Naturally, unless someone's going to put the ball in the back of the net, then we're going to struggle. And yesterday, it looked like we could have played 2 sets of 90 minutes and we wouldn't have scored yesterday.
And if you actually look at some of the games this season where we've had a lot of success, you know, high-scoring games, are games where teams sort of came to attack. So like Manchester City, for instance, when they came to attack, and we were able to deploy a lot of the tactics that teams have used on us. So, I mean, it's really interesting to see, but definitely our impotence in attack has been there for everyone to see. Black Hole with a super chat, he says, we're the least conceding side in the league, even to this day. Goes to show you are toothless attack. Board and the club must answer why we didn't fill the spots after letting Nketiah, Reece Nelson, and Emil Smith-Rowe go. I mean, it's a very valid argument. I said it. I did a fan cam yesterday, and I said, to me, it's just shocking what happened in January. We can talk what we listen. We needed a striker in the summer. We all universally said that we dropped the ball by not getting a striker in. Then that was even with everybody fit. But then with all the injuries that we had, to not get anybody in January was absolutely criminal. And we're seeing it now. You know, we're having to rely on Mikel Merino up front.
Yeah. Listen, I could go further back than that. And I'm not even talking about the summer. I'm talking about after Aubameyang left the club, we was in desperate need of a striker. We haven't really had anyone to replace him. I mean, okay, the club signed Havertz. I'm not sure if he was signed as a striker. He's kind of a makeshift striker because he
wasn't signed as a striker.
Yeah, exactly. So he's a makeshift striker. So I would argue that ever since Aubameyang left the club, we've not had a proper number 9. Okay, Havertz has come in. He's played that role. He's done fairly well. But let's be honest, man, he's not a 20-goal a season man. I said that right from the start, and I think I've been proved right by that. He was not even at Chelsea was he a 20-goal a season man. He's come to us. He's not a 20-goal a season man. And he has struggled. And let's be honest as well, last season, when we talk about injuries, I think it's fair to say that we were quite fortunate in that we didn't really have many long-term injuries to the squad. Whereas this season now, injuries have been a big part. So I think that, you know, we've said it many times before. You've said it. I know Turkish has been banging on about it. Well, everyone said it. The club have been let down by the lack of recruitment. And you could talk about any sporting franchise, any business, like any corporation. They always say your recruitment and retention is key. And Arsenal, unfortunately, for whatever reason, and I suspect it's financial,
money.
You know, they've not wanted to spend the money. They've neglected what they need to have taken care of, and it's starting to cost the club dearly. They've shown a distinct lack of ambition. I think it's there for everyone to see.
Yeah, this guy here with a super chat, he says, Robbie, please tell us what phase Arne Slot is in. By the way, I've never mentioned anything about phases, this phase thing. You know, our fan base deserves this.
Are you getting it? Are you getting it?
This phase thing, I've never mentioned phase in my life, right? Arne Slot's done an absolutely incredible job, right? I don't think, let's just, you know, kick back, Liverpool fans were absolutely losing it in the summer because they barely signed anybody. They were moaning. Right. So Arne Slot has come in. He's done an absolutely amazing job. But one thing that he had going for him, he already had a great side, a side that was challenging for the league last season. Attacking wise, brilliant side. Mo Salah, Gakpo, Luis Diaz, Jota, Darwin Núñez, all those attackers he had. He didn't have to buy any of them. Right. He's been able to turn Gravenberch into a defensive midfielder of exceptional talent. Liverpool fans were angry in the summer because they thought they were getting in Zubimendi and players like that. And then in defense, really key. They already had Konate. They already had Alisson. They already had the big experience of Virgil van Dijk. These are players that have pushed for leagues before. right, over the years, you know, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, and he's not really brought no one in. I think he's only, who did they buy? Just Chiesa.
Yeah.
And he's managed that squad brilliantly. So he had a ready-made squad. He's managed that squad brilliantly. Nobody expected him to do what he's doing now, not even the most ardent of Liverpool fan. So when people are talking about phases and that, he's exceeded what everybody thought he was going to exceed. He's done absolutely brilliant, but he had a great side there already. Arsenal needed to improve in the attacking areas. We already know that we had a good defense. We had a good midfield, but we all knew we were lacking in attack. We didn't address that, and we're paying the price. We're paying the price right now. So it's as simple as that. It's ain't about phases. This ain't about who's done it in 1 year and this one in 5 years or whatever, because you do have to look at what you inherit. Arteta inherited a very, very poor side. Arne Slot didn't, right? That's not to say he's still going to be a mega achievement to win a title in his first season. But you have to take those things into account. But equally, you can look at Mikel Arteta and say, well, what's going on? Why don't you want to sign strikers? And is this style of football that he's been playing, this brand of football that he's been playing this season, been an outdated system? As I said, we've seen City playing it. They've not really made any headway with it. Arsenal have been playing it. They've not really made any headway. Chelsea, in a way, play a similar style. You know, whereas Liverpool have adapted their style a bit. So, you know, I think there's a lot of things to take into account. But Arne Slot, you got to take it out off to him. You got to take it out off to Liverpool. You got to say and recognise that they are the best team in this league. They've only lost one game at home to Forest this season. You know, and even in games that they've struggled in, they've got across the line because they've got great firepower.
Mm-hmm. One thing I would say, though, there are ways to circumvent a low block. You know what I mean? Because let's face it, you know, the low block's been around from time, and teams who have greater possession of the ball, they will be aware that they need to break down the team. There are ways you can do it. So, for example, you need to, what they use, quick ball. You need the passes need to be quick. You need to utilize the flanks well. You need pace in behind. You need to take shots from outside the box. A lot of those things I've just mentioned, Arsenal do not do, or if they do, they don't do that very well. You rarely see an Arsenal player take shots from outside the box. In recent weeks, everybody's been saying it, our passing has been slow and methodical, somewhat stodgy, you know what I mean? So, and we're not playing with confidence. You need to play passes to try and break the lines. We're not doing enough of that. And guys that were doing it earlier in the season, namely Martin Odegaard, he's been badly off form. Yeah, ever since he got injured that time. So I think there's something to say about that as well. Because let's be honest, in a game of football, there's always going to be, well, 9 times out of 10, there's always going to be a team that enjoys more possession of the ball than the other one. Very rarely is it going to be 50-50. So, you know.
Yeah, but is that working anymore? And like you said, and this guy here makes a great point. Effio says, today's City versus Liverpool match proved how a team, even one as dominant, can struggle without a proper striker. This is what Arsenal have dealt with for years. And it's very, very true, because without Haaland, without that focal point today, they look very toothless. I mean, I thought Mamouche did all right, but he's sort of a second striker, and he's not that focal point, right? And you saw they had a lot of possession out. I thought I was watching Arsenal today, because they had a lot of possession out wide, you know, Doku, Savinho, they were getting on the ball, a lot of possession, but when they went to pass the ball into the box, it's like 10 red shirts in there. So every time they pass it into the box, dealt with, away, and then if you win that ball, control it, get it up the pitch quick to Salah, you know, and those players, and you're in. Because you then got, you know, you got one-on-one situations with really good players. So if you're going to play that style, you need a dominant striker. Arsenal ain't got that. We ain't got any striker at the moment. So you see how we're suffering. Texas Cannon says, league lost in the summer. January, shame on the ownership. Again, sorry, I don't know how to apologize. I think it's Ifaneulo. I'm sorry if I don't know how to pronounce your name. He says, Robbie, you're... Sorry?
To say Izzy, for sure.
Izzy is an Abuelo. Is
Just say
sorry.
for sure.
So I'm butchering it. But thank you very much for the super chat. He says, Robbie, your point is wrong. This same great Liverpool side finished behind us 2 seasons in a row. It's an excuse. No, what I'm saying is this side that, and as I said, big up Arne Slot. He done brilliantly with this team this season. But that team's a ready-made team that was challenging for the league last season. Go and have a look. They challenged for the league. They fell off towards the end. But at one time, they were looking in the strongest position to even win the league. So it's not a poor side he's taken over. He didn't take over a side with some of the players at Arsenal that Mikel Arteta had when he first took it over. So I think, the phase thing. But taking that aside, what Slot has done, incredible. Nobody expected him to do what he's done this season. King in Black says, Kroenke's out, Arteta out, excuses out, 5 years, £750 million spent. A lot of people saying that today. And Derek Joshua says, it doesn't matter who Arsenal play up front. Arteta's approach is too slow, allowing teams to park the bus. Pool will bust you.
Bust your tail on the counter.
It is too slow. He is right. It is very, very slow. But even Liverpool have struggled against that low block in recent games. Not today, because we know that City don't play a low block. And remember, we played City. We beat them 5-1, right? It's the teams with a low block that you need that attacking. And Liverpool have got that. They got Salah. They got all those Gakpo, all these guys up front, Jota, that can hurt you. We haven't. We've got the normal circumstances. If everybody's fit. Yeah, if everyone's fit.
He said, you can talk tactics all you want, but it's about the players at the end of the day.
Yeah. So if everybody's fit, we've got Saka, right? Martinelli or Trossard, these guys have done well last season. But at the end of the day, right, we have not had the attacking, and that is where it's crazy what Arsenal did in January. It was always, to me, why they just said to themselves, they're probably looking on it right now, the owners, and saying, see, told you we wouldn't win it, so we may as well wait until the summer. But no, you've given yourself no chance. And when they say nobody was available, no.
Nonsense.
Yesterday told us, showed us, people were available. Marco Asensio, who was being pushed, I know this for a fact, was being pushed to clubs like Arsenal because PSG wanted to get him off the books and send him out on loan, was available. And Arsenal passed on him. This guy's played for Real Madrid, Spanish international he's been in his time, being at PSG, right? We passed on him. He won the game yesterday for Aston Villa. The 2 players that they bought in the January transfer window, Rashford, 2 assists, and Marco Asensio, 2 goals, won that game for them yesterday. We're losing 1-0 against Chelsea. Those 2 won the game for them. How can they say there was nobody, whether it be the board or Mikel Arteta, say that nobody was available in January? Criminal.
I'll give you another one from the same team, Ollie Watkins. It's common knowledge now that Arsenal were attempting anyway to try and bring in Ollie Watkins. There was a chance that we could get him. Villa went in with a lowball offer of 40. Villa wanted 60. From what I understand, we didn't even try and breach a gap. From what I'm understanding, Ollie Watkins was very keen on the move. So therefore, if Arsenal really pushed it, I think they could have got that over the line. Because if you remember at the time, the manager was saying things quite surprising. Unai Emery was saying, well, listen, we don't want to sell him, but, at the end of the day, if the price meets our demand, then yes. So that means there was an opportunity to get Watkins. We didn't get him. And look, that same guy as well, I think he scored 2 goals.
Scored against Liverpool.
Yeah.
Right? So, but even if, what I'm saying is, right, that deal, even at the time when it was being offered, I remember a lot of Arsenal fans coming online and saying, too much for a 29-year-old and stuff like that, they were saying. I didn't agree with that. I would have got him because we need a striker, right? But even if you don't go for him, there were loans available. Loans. They ain't going to cost you a penny because the loan of Marco Asensio to Aston Villa, there is no obligation to buy him. It's just a straight loan. I don't know how much they had to pay in a loan fee, because that's a common thing now where you got to pay a loan fee, and that maybe Arsenal didn't even want to pay that. It's crazy. Let's get into some more super chats here. They're coming through. This one for Robbie says, Robbie, how long can this go on? We're 5 years into the project. It's on Arteta. He decided not to sign forward players. £750 million spent. He's under a lot of pressure, Mikel Arteta. Lots of pressure. I don't think he's going to get sacked this season because Arsenal are going to make the top four. So they're not going to sack him. But I do feel that next season that's the make or break season for him. If he doesn't win something major, I don't see how he'd be able to continue. Right? That's what
just on that Arteta thing, I just wanted to raise a point quickly, and this is something that I've been going back and forth with a lot of the Arsenal fans online and in person. Do we know that it's him that's not wanted to sign a striker? Because I would have thought that he would have wanted to sign a striker. I mean, surely he wants to win the league. Surely he's aware of the situation. And certain comments that he's made where he said he's disappointed that we didn't bring anybody in, is that a clue that all might not be well between him and the board? Because I just can't see a word why he wouldn't want to bring in a striker. I think maybe he was pushing for a striker. So, for example, I'm hearing, and listen, I've got no one in the club internally to, know for sure, but there has been certain talk going around that he was very disappointed. He wanted Watkins and was disappointed when the club didn't, try in earnest to get him. So is it a case where Mikel Arteta doesn't want to sign the strikers, or is it a case whereby he said, look, we need to bring somebody in, and the board have said, look, we've got no more money, or you're going to have to wait till the summer, or whatever the case might be?
Laurie, we're not going to know. But one thing I would say, right, we don't know about January specifically, because that's kind of how I feel. I'm kind of like, why was he keep saying publicly? Yeah. But one thing we do know, in the summer, when we also should have got a striker, he said he was happy with the business he's done. And at that time, it was him and Edu doing things. So that one is definitely on him. And he should have signed a striker then. We shouldn't have gone into this season without a striker.
No.
We shouldn't. We shouldn't have gone into the season without a striker.
Right at the start of the season, I remember we did a show. You were there, I was there, Turkish, Cecil, James. We did a show in which we was asked to give our predictions for the season. This was going back to just, August time. And I remember saying on that show, I said, look, we was all asked to give our predictions as to where Arsenal would finish. And I said on that show, I said, look, I would like to sit here and predict that Arsenal will win the title. However, unless we sign a striker worthy of the name, I don't think Arsenal will win the title. I think
we all said it.
Second or third. And, those words have proven to be prophetic, because I don't think we're going to win the title. And it's because we've not brought in a striker.
Well, you see a game like yesterday. We got all the possession. We got, even though we defended poorly in that game. But to be fair, this season, I think we conceded the least amount of goals, if I'm right? So we defended it all right this season. We defended very well this season, you could say. But, and I know we've had a lot of injuries this season to key players up front, but we didn't buy a striker. We didn't buy a striker.
And that's what I can't understand.
You watch the Newcastle game today. You watch the Newcastle game today. Isak, 2 goals, and he played a big part in one of the other goals. What have we got like that?
I'll tell you what, I'll go further than that. I would say that our current strike force, given the injuries, is one of the weakest in the Premier League.
Yeah, the current one.
Go right through from teams 1 right down to 20. We would definitely be in that bottom half right now in terms of striking personnel.
You know what I want? I want to ask people out there, where would you rate Arsenal's strike force with everybody fit in comparison to all the other teams as well?
Yeah.
Because remember, let's roll it back like we start of the season, we're trying to win a league. To me, the rest of the team, I looked at, I was like, it's pretty strong. But where would you rate our strike force? So that's interesting. Let me do some super chats here. Malk says, we know very well that Jason Ato didn't want to make a sign-in. He wants the job full-time. And how do you appease the board? Save money. I'm sick with anger. I think a lot of people are feeling like that at the moment. Amri says, when we lost all of our strike force, I assumed our defence would step up, so I expected 1-0 wins. There is a way to win, but Arteta didn't focus on defence. Listen, there's enough in defence, and yesterday those defenders were very poor. They haven't been poor week in, week out, to be honest, right? You only got to look at the record of the defence this season. It's been good, but yesterday it was poor. William Saliba says, yeah, I'm off to Madrid. Bundesliga club, right? LV says, Robbie and Laurie, a lot of fans online are saying Salah is having an all-timer season with 50 goals
in the season.
Yeah, right. So do we just hold our hands up and say, yeah, fit? Listen, we could.
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't do that.
Hold on, Laurie. We could have brought in everybody that we needed, and still Liverpool could have won the league this season because they've been that good. But we've not put them under enough pressure because we haven't done that. That's the thing. No. So Salah's been brilliant. He has been brilliant. But look, the last couple of games where Liverpool have faltered and we've had a chance to put pressure on them, we've not been able to do so. So Salah, yes, he's been absolutely amazing.
Absolutely hand and saying fair play. No, I'm not going to do that. And I'll tell you why. Because listen, the excuses in the previous years when we've fallen short, and listen, some of it had some validity, was that Man City was such a good side, like once in a lifetime team, that it was going to be very difficult to surpass them. And listen, I do hear that. However, this season with City dropping off, we should have been right there. And when I say right there, I mean like right there. But it would appear that we're dropping fast, and that is not acceptable. I'm sorry. So no, I don't do the hold your hands up and say fair play.
Mr. Kaplan says, big up the bros. I don't know what to say. He says, big up. Another super chat from HW says, if both of you were owners of Arsenal, how much more time would you give Arteta to deliver?
Well, I think everything needs to be assessed at the end of the season. I mean, we don't know how the season's going to end up. I mean, my thinking at the moment is it's unlikely we're going to win the league or the Champions League, if we're being honest. It's most likely that we'll finish second, or third. We'll definitely qualify for the Champions League. That will probably meet the owner's aspirations, because Champions League football is very, very important in terms of monetary.
Yeah, but what about you? What about you? He said if you were the owner.
I think I would have to assess the trajectory of the club, see where we finish, see what the mood is amongst the fans, the players and everything else before you make any decisions. I think it's very difficult with like 12, 13 games left to go and Champions League football to say what I'm going to. I would have to wait and see how the season ends up and then make my decision from there.
All right, so let me just
I don't think any manager should be assured of his job unless they're doing it.
Let me give you a scenario. So we say we finish second and we get knocked out of the Champions League. What would you do at the end of the season? What would it be then?
I think I would, if I'm a board member, I would say that, listen, you have not been given the support you should have had. There would have to be some honest conversations around that. And I would say, look, we will do our best to deliver what you need in terms of player personnel. However, you have got to win something in the next season or the season coming up. Yeah. Otherwise, we may need to look at it again, Mikel. Definitely, those conversations.
I don't think I'd sack him this season, because I'd look on it and I'd say to myself, if he finishes second and he got knocked out of the Champions League, that was a scenario. I'd look on it and say, well, what I would give him in mitigation is that there's been a lot of injuries this season to key players, which would affect any side. We saw today, Man City, they're missing Haaland. They didn't look the same up front. There's been a lot of injuries to players. If Salah was out for Liverpool for a long period of time, it wouldn't be the same, even with their attacking prowess. So, he's been missing Saka for a long period of time. Jesus is out. Havertz is out now for the rest of the season. Ben White's been missing for a big portion. So was Odegaard earlier on in the season. So I'd give him that mitigation, but I'd say to him, you have to win something major next season, because you've had a long time now. O'Malley said,
major, does that have to be the league or the Champions League, or would you accept
me,
one of the cup?
It would have to be one of those two for me. O'Malley says, Liverpool and Salah are having an amazing season, but Arsenal board and Arteta have let the fans down again. Not winning the league stings, but no FA Cup even. When Liverpool didn't win the Premier League, they won cups. That's a very good point. Red Dust says, Robbie, someone needs to tell the truth and address the issue. Some fans keep saying Arteta is a victim of the passivity of the board, and he has no say in transfers. What about Zinchenko, Jesus, Raya, and Havertz signings? No, I don't think you can say he has no say. I think, listen, how these things work is, of course, the manager has a say in the players that he's going to sign, but it ain't his money, right? So if he's being told that, we've only got this to spend, or we've only got that to spend, that is where the difference comes in. So it'd be like I say to Laurie now, Laurie, you got 10 million to spend in the transfer window. That's it. You go and, between you and Jason Ato, you go and sort that out. I don't know. It's not my job to buy the players, but you got 10 million. So if I then come back and say, well, hold on, I need a striker, and the cheapest striker going is 30 million, and the owners say, well, sorry, I'm not going to give you that till the summer, then that's it. That's what the scenario is. G49.
I think there also has to be some question marks about some of the signings that has been made. I think he's made something like 31 signings since he took over at the club, and we have to be honest and say that a lot of those signings have not worked. I mean, I'm not going to list those, obviously, but even if we go back to this summer, who we brought in, Calafiori, Mourinho, goalkeeper, and one or two other people, I don't think you could say that the signings have been an overwhelming success, would you?
No, they haven't. They haven't been. But what you can say over his reign over the last few seasons, you could say those signings have kind of worked in a way in that it's got us to challenge him for titles. We were nowhere near that before. So you have to look at the overall picture rather than just focus on did this individual work or did that individual work. And some players that have worked that are fading now. So like I remember when he brought in Zinchenko and Jesus, they worked at the time because they got us challenging for a title. They changed the philosophy and the ethos of Arsenal, everything around it. Raya's been a good sign. Yeah, I mean, Declan Rice. So some of them have been good, some of them not so good. But in general, the signings have got us challenging for a league. Why they haven't signed a striker? G49 says disaster January window. We give Eddie 100K for 2 years, right? And then we let Obi go for nothing. Why not give him what United offer? Bad business from top to bottom. Krishna. I've got Krishna here, super chat. Krishna says, don't forget that Arteta will not be sacked until we fail to qualify for the Champions League. No matter what fans feel, the owners are getting money. You could be right. Derek Joshua, thank you very much for the super chat. No comment. Park Lane says, South London forever. He's obviously Spurs fan. They get one win, they pipe up themselves. One win against Ipswich. Ipswich, and now there's this great side. What position you in? What are you? Chill out, bro. O'Malley says Arteta also did a poor job in rotating before injuries. Since Arteta became coach, his use of the squad was the weakest attribute, and finally came to bite him in the arse this season. And you got that is one area he's got to take a lot of blame because he went with this very small squad. And that has bitten him badly. HW says it's not just as simple as needing a striker. Our chance creation has declined since last season, declined season by season. And that is an Arteta issue. Why has our football factually got worse this year? That is true, Laurie. Our football this season, I mean, very structured. Like I said, very structured, ultra possession-based.
And very predictable.
Yeah, and when you ain't got a striker,
I heard an interview. I heard a fan cam that you did with Nikki from West Ham Fan TV. Shout out to Nikki. I was listening to that fan cam, and he made a very good point. He said, "Listen, your play yesterday was very predictable because I could see in the stands what you're going to do. You had no real width. He goes, it was just a case of getting the two banks of four and keeping our shape." And the rest was pretty much taken care of. He said, well, we knew you weren't really going to score. So if you get in opposing fans saying things like that, then that tells you a whole lot in itself.
Let me get this one here. Emmanuel says, I don't want to hear that Turkish-like rant about the Cronkies. They spent 750 million. It's on Arteta. He decides who we get, the end. But then remember what we had. rubbish, basically. So even you've got to take that into context. You're rebuilding from scratch. Manchester United spent way more than that. So have Chelsea. I think even Spurs have spent more than that. And where are they? So we've been in a position to challenge.
You make a good point there, because if you look at Arteta since he's taken over, so he finished 8th in his first year, 8th, 5th, 2nd, and he's probably on line for a 2nd place finish this year. That in itself is fairly good. It's just that the disappointment of not winning anything this season is going to be palpable.
Yeah. Paul Dino says, don't count your chickens before they hatch, Rob. Stay humble here. Liverpool, yeah, you need to stay humble. Just chill, man. You ain't won it yet. You're going to win it, but stay humble with it, yeah? Right? You know, stay humble with it. You know what it's like to chase down City many times over the years. Napster says, if we had no injuries with everyone available, I think the race would have gone down to the final day at least. I do feel that is a factor, that if we had everybody fit, we'd be a lot closer. I'm not saying necessarily that because like that guy said, Salah's been brilliant this season. But I do feel we'd be a lot closer.
Oh yeah, it would have been a bit closer. But I think, speaking to the fans, right, I think that there was a common feeling amongst the fans at the start of this season that if City drop off, we would have been the team in situ to take over and win the Premier League. The fact that we've not done that, regardless of how close we finish to Liverpool, I think that would have been very upsetting to the fans. Then you add on top of that, if we've not won any other trophies, that makes it even worse. That compounds and exacerbates the issues. You know what I mean? So
that not winning any other trophies, and those 2 trophies, the sort of time when they came around now to really compete for those trophies coincided with January, where they didn't even go and get nobody.
Yeah, especially
early in the window. Self-inflicted. Samir says, Ty's delusion is contagious. You should demand more from Arsenal, considering how much money the fans spend on the club. Arteta's had many chances, time to go. So he's not. He's run out of.
One thing that I was talking to Curtis about this today. Actually, we had a pretty good conversation about Arsenal, as we always do. And I was putting it to Curtis: what happens on the reverse side of the coin? What if it gets to the end of the season and Arsenal don't win the title? You might have a disaffected manager, Mikel Arteta. He might be thinking to himself, well, you know what? Maybe I've taken this club as far as I can go. They're not backing me in the transfer market. We've not won anything this season. The fans are turning on me. And then at the same time, he might be getting, you know what I mean, attracting interest from other clubs, Barcelona or whoever, you know what I mean? It could be that he might think to himself, it's time to go as well. So you never know what's going to happen at the end of the season, man. You just never know.
Yep. LFC Tom, a lot of Liverpool fans there, says, good evening, Robbie. Are you not worried that the Liverpool fans might drown in all of those AFTV tears? Should we be taking on swimming lessons? I think you did enough swimming lessons last year when Klopp left and all the crying that you did then. So, you know what I mean? Right. You're doing well. You're going to probably win the title. Good luck to you. You've got a great side. And you deserve to win it this season. Me, I hold my hands up when it's time to hold my hands up. Liverpool, I like Liverpool as a club. They're a great club, great institution. And at the moment, they are deservedly on their way to winning the title. You go to the Etihad, a stadium that you haven't won for many years, and you win there, that's a big statement. You know,
and they won with something to spare as well.
Sorry?
They won with something to spare as well.
It's a comfortable win. Comfortable win. They just got the 2 goals and just sat back and said, come on in. Let's see what you got.
It was never in doubt. Never in doubt.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? You got to big them up. You got to big them up. So, you know, this guy says, I don't like Liverpool. I don't mind. Listen, it's always a great stadium to go to. They've got great fans, Liverpool. So
with me, I'm not even looking at Liverpool, you know. I'm just more concerned about what's happening at our end, you know what I mean? I'm not listening.
Exactly.
Liverpool will most likely go on and win the title. The league doesn't lie. If they end up winning the title at the end of the 38 games, it's because they were the best team. But let's be honest, man, we need to look internally and find out what's gone wrong.
We've not applied the pressure.
Yeah.
The example is this week. This week, we had a chance to apply pressure They went into that game today with no pressure upon them after yesterday's results. They must have been laughing last night and saying to themselves, oh, my days, man, we just could free it. We go out there, we lose to City, we're still way ahead. Red Square says, after all that Isak talk, the big striker that we are getting next summer is Ferran Torres. You heard it here first. Yes, boys, I want the credit if that happens. Oh, my God. Listen, and I wouldn't even put it past these lot. It won't be Isak. I think Newcastle...
Why not?
Because I think Newcastle are going to get into the Champions League. I think they're going to get into the top. Let me actually, again, look at that... Let me just look at the table again after this weekend's game. Sorry. I'm just getting it on my phone here. Let me get up on the screen, actually, as well for everybody. Sorry, guys. Just bear with me a second. Because I did have it here. So, looking at the league at the moment, Liverpool top of the league on 64 points. Arsenal is second on 53. Forest, who we got next, on 47 points. Man City, 44 points. But look at Newcastle. Fifth place. Fifth place will get you Champions League this season.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, they're looking good.
Could Bournemouth get Champions League football?
Yeah, you still got Bournemouth. So Chelsea are slipping away. Villa might make a fight. It's going to be really close. I think Newcastle got enough to get that Champions League slot. I think they're one of the better teams out of all those that are left. And if they do get that Champions League spot, they're not going to sell Isak.
No, well, listen, they won't want to sell Isak.
But I don't think he'd want to go. If they're in the Champions League, I think he'd stay.
Well, we don't know that, do we? It depends on how much we really try to get him. I mean, you know what football's like. If you make a real earnest and honest effort to get the player, make him feel that, listen, we need you, we want you. You know what I mean? We will pay you what you want or near to what you want. You will become the person that we build our whole... No, I'm saying if we say to Isak, we are going to make you the person that we build our future project around. I would say it's going to be difficult for Isak to say no. I mean,
I don't think I think that, you know, listen, even with some of the, you know, if you look at their PSI, they haven't spent for a while now, Newcastle, right? They of what I understand, they don't have to sell Isak in the summer to raise money, right? And if they're in the Champions League, then they're going to be guaranteed big money coming in. Isak himself as a player will realize an ambition of playing in the Champions League. I think it'd be very difficult for any team to get him out of there in the summer. That's what I think.
But it's not impossible. We've seen.
No, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. But listen, even if Isak, even not Isak, there's other players out there. We have to sign a striker. Eric says Liverpool has the most potent. And by the way, you could go Liverpool because they could be losing Salah. He might decide to go there. We said Liverpool have the most potent attack in the league, and they still had and they still bid 10 million for Lille forward in January. That must be Jonathan David. We have our manager, prior to Jesus' injury, defending his stance to not sign an attacker. Criminal, Eric. Absolutely.
I've mentioned this before on shows like this, but I also look back to when Edu left the club. I said it at the time. There was something wasn't quite right about that for me. And I still think that might have something to do why we didn't bring anybody in. Was it a case that Edu became disenchanted with the club? Was it a case whereby Edu was putting forth these players, you know, in an effort to try and sign them, and he was getting rebuffed by the money men at the club? You don't know.
Definitely something's gone on there. And the most criminal thing is they replaced him.
Well, they've replaced him with a guy, I2, is it? In name?
Yeah, but he's not a replacement, Laurie. He's doing the job at the moment
because they haven't. He's not a direct replacement, but you know.
No, but he's doing the job at the moment because they haven't brought no one in.
Yeah,
but
that's why they said he's doing a great job, because he's not spent any money.
What is he? I don't know how you could do a great job and you haven't spent a penny yet.
No, I'm using their words. Apparently, that's what they've said, isn't it?
Yeah, it's criminal. He can't get that job, as far as I'm concerned. If he gets that job right now, based on what?
No, but if you got owners that don't want to spend money and he's making sure they don't spend money, then to the club, then he's doing a great job.
Yeah, unless we get to the summer and there's a load of big players coming in, and even then they've still sacrificed this season. Michael says, at this point, the healthiest way to support Arsenal is to expect disappointment every time there is a glimmer of hope. It's so depressing. It's so depressing following Arsenal at the moment. Man United title next year, 21. Bro, chill out. United have got a long way to go before any title. I can tell you that's what we say when we talk about a rebuild. They got a huge rebuild on their hand, and they've already done a load of money. Tomo Duff says, saying Arsenal going after Isak all this time, what if Newcastle get Champions League and come and get Arsenal players?
Well, they've already got Joe Willock. He's doing pretty well there, by the way.
Yeah, listen, I personally can see Isak not going to any club. Remember, Barcelona are interested in him, but will they cough up the funds required to get Isak away? He's going to be way over 100 million. I more see Arsenal going and getting a Sesko or somebody like that. That's what I see.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I'll tell you what else I'm a bit worried about. At the other end of the pitch, I'm worried that Real Madrid are going to make an effort to try and get Saliba in the summer. So we've got to try and take care of that business as well. That's going to cost the club a bit of money too, to try and time down to some kind of long-term contract. Because I can see a lot of activity around Saliba in the summer. And it may not just come from Madrid either. Yep.
This is some of these players are going to start saying to themselves, well, when are we going to win the title? This is why I feel that he has to next year. He has to. I feel that Arteta, if he didn't win the title next year, that'd be it. Although, like you said, that's us saying that, but I feel the owners might look on it different. Maybe we had Kieran Maguire on the other day, the financial expert, and he was talking about the amount of money you earn when you get into the Champions League and why it is so important to every club. And this is when you see managers losing jobs when they don't make it.
And this is what you was talking about earlier when you were saying it reminds you of the Wenger years, because towards the latter half of Wenger's tenure, that's what it was all about for the club, wasn't it? Qualifying for the Champions League, increasing the financial coffers, but not really realising any real ambitions on the pitch. And I think it's also fair to say as well that if you look at this season, it could be argued that Arsenal's best players have come from the academy. Guys like Ranieri, Skelly, even Saka. I know he's established now, but he came from that route. It could be that the ownership might be thinking, is there anyone else there? I mean, we've heard talk about Max Doman doing very well and people like that. It could be one of them where they're a little bit reticent to spend money because the Hale End project seems to be working quite well.
I think if they don't spend big money this summer, out come all the banners, the Kroenke stuff. And I noticed yesterday, funny enough, right? When you walk through the tunnel to go to the game, that somebody's thrown a load of red paint over that mural of Josh Kroenke.
Wow.
Loads of red paint over it, right? So, which, the other day at Leicester, before the game, I've heard fans singing, we want Kroenke out. I haven't heard that for a long, long time. There's a lot of restlessness over what happened in January.
And you see, part of the problem is that they wouldn't really immediately be aware of this because they're cocooned somewhere.
They're not there, are they?
Yeah, they're away from, where it's all going down. But certainly when you talk to fans, there is a certain degree of pessimism, to put it mildly. And we got to be careful that pessimism doesn't turn into toxicity, because if we don't get the results in the coming week, say, for example, we don't get a result at Forest, and then the following week we don't do so well in the Champions League, you can see things starting to turn that way. You know what I mean?
100%. I said it. I really hope that doesn't happen. I said it at the end of January when we didn't sign anyone. I said, what's coming now is every time we lose a game, first thing to be brought up is January. And that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. And Forest is not going to be an easy game. I know they lost 4-3 today. They were 4-1 down. They had some terrible, I was watching that game, they had some terrible defending, but they showed a bit of fight in the second half when Newcastle took their foot off the gas. But that's a tough game for Arsenal.
And the other point I wanted to make very quickly, Robbie, is that, listen, it's very understandable that, when things don't go well. So, for example, last week when things didn't go well, Raheem Sterling copped a lot of stick. This week, when things haven't gone well, it seemed that Martin Odegaard was the scapegoat. So it's very easy for the fans to scapegoat players and the manager. But if you think about it, the things that we're talking about, that neglect that we talked about in terms of bringing in new players, refreshing the squad, the lack of recruitment and retention at the club. Those things kind of underpin everything else. And if that is not handled right, sometimes I think it's kind of unfair almost to just attribute all the blame to the players. Because like you said, we're having to rely on a number 8, Mikel Merino, who, let's face it, is in his first season at the club. He's not even had a pre-season. And to be fair to Mikel Merino, he's still kind of finding his way. All of a sudden, he's been pushed up front. We lose to West Ham and the whole team's getting criticised. The manager's getting criticised. And like I said, we're in danger of everything imploding.
And that all boils down to, the decision in January not to.
It starts at the top.
Yeah.
And there's a famous saying. They said, if you don't improve, in fact, you're stagnating and degrading. Especially when you're talking about the Premier League that is ultra competitive and stuff like that. If you're not doing your due diligence of bringing players in and refreshing and improving, you're stagnating and then going backwards. And that's what Arsenal are in danger of. Because if we don't win anything this season, which I said at the moment is not looking likely, then we've stagnated because, we finished second the last 3 years. So, and then you've got the likes of Bournemouth and Newcastle and teams like that. They're coming. So if you don't address it, then pretty soon, next season, we won't even finish in the Champions League places.
Elliot Roberts says, Robbie's Elliot here from Canada. Big up. He says, this was a self-sustaining year for KSE. They weren't investing a penny and it has cost us a title. Arteta not to blame is what he says. And Derek Joshua says, Arteta didn't inherit rubbish. That team won the FA Cup and got to Baku. Arteta just didn't know how to manage those players who were very expensive. Now, he inherited rubbish. There was, listen, not every player in there was rubbish because he had Aubameyang, he had Lacazette, he had, but then let's go through the team. That team was a million miles away from the title. And by the way, got to Baku and got absolutely destroyed in the final, 4-1 against Chelsea, humiliated, right? So let's have it right. That was a poor side. That was a side that if that side currently, I don't even think it would have been 8, 9, 10 or worse, right? So, and he won the FA Cup with that side. Right, I don't know how.
But therein lies the disappointment, Robbie. So what that guy is probably alluding to is the fact that even with those players that you've said were not very good, we've won an FA Cup and we've won nothing since. I think that is at the height of the frustration amongst the fans.
Yep, there's that. But Arteta did win that FA Cup. But I think, I think, Laurie, if I'm being honest here right now, if he won an FA Cup or he won a League Cup, people would be like, all right, at least we won something for the season. I ain't going to fully appease the fans. They want the league. We've been waiting now over 5, how many years? We want to see a league title at the Emirates Stadium. We want to see a league. We've been close to it the last couple of seasons. We want to win a league. And that is and that's the point I'm making, is that the team that Arne Slot took over was challenging for the league last season. The team that Arteta took over was nowhere near challenging for a league, and that's the difference I was trying to make to that gentleman. Napsa says it's such a paradoxical season. Won nothing but second in the league, still in Europe with an injury-hit squad, and look at the sides behind us. That is right. You got to give him some credit, Arteta, for sustaining a title push and, finishing third in the group stages and still being in the Champions League with the amount of injuries we've had. But still, there's a tinge of disappointment in that. Listen, we could have went and got players in January and still Liverpool win that league by 5-6 points. But at least we tried.
Yeah.
For me, what I saw in January was us just saying, nah, we'll wait. Wait for what?
Well, they showed no ambition. They showed no ambition.
No ambition. Listen, we've reached the end of the show today. It's been absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? Don't forget, we're here every single night at 7 o'clock. We'll be here tomorrow night. We've got the Bias Premier League show live at 7 tomorrow. Ty's going to be in the building, so make sure you join us. If you saw him yesterday, Laurie, he was so upset.
Yeah, I saw him.
My God, I've never seen. He weren't talking to anybody, man. Like, It was bad. But we'll be, and then we're here every night at 7. Of course, on Wednesday, we'll be having a big watch along to the game. Arsenal go away to Nottingham Forest, of course. So make sure you join us for that. I'm also going to be at Forest speaking to fans after the game. But every night we're here at 7. And remember that competition that I spoke about. You saw the ad at the start of the match, start of the video, where we got a couple of VIP tickets to give away to go to that Arsenal versus Chelsea game. Right, £10 to enter that. You've got to be UK based. You can enter. Julian was asking me if you can enter it more than one time, but there's only 250 tickets available. So make sure you check that out. Laurie, thank you very much. Thank you to you guys. Yeah, it's been a terrible weekend for Arsenal. Arsenal dropping points and losing to West Ham. And then to make things worse, Liverpool go and not smash, but very easily beat Manchester City 2-0. It's looking like Liverpool's title all the way now. But listen, we just got to keep supporting the team from now till the end of the season. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow. AFTV has partnered with Reforte, and we're giving you a chance to win 2 luxury VIP tickets to the Arsenal v Chelsea game worth over £1,500. It's just £10 entry, and we've got a limited 250 tickets. Tickets for a chance to attend your dream matchday experience go on sale on February the 24th, so click the link below. Stay tuned for the drop, because once they're gone, they're gone.